Hello everyone, and welcome back to, of course, Misfits Racing League action. My name is Strifium, and joining me, as always, for Tier 2 Racing, it's Unicorn. How are you doing today, Unicorn?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We've already had one exciting race around. Well, I have, and you've had two now. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Tier 2 and Tier 1 go about it this evening.
We've had two races here around, of course, Suzuka this week already now. We had the European Division on Tuesday. We've had the Oceanic Division now this morning or last night, depending on whether you may be joining us. Of course, we've got 18 turns around this iconic circuit and a lot of fun to come this evening as we've got Tier 2 and Tier 1 racing action around here. The only figure 8 circuit on the Formula 1 calendar, and it's played host to a lot of iconic moments over the course of Formula 1 history as well, so definitely, I imagine, a favorite for most. I do believe it is a favorite for a good chunk of the racers on this grid, but of course, let's take a look at where we have been this season and where we are going to be going. We don't have that many racing, rounds left this season, to be honest. We've had 22, well, it's a 22 race calendar. We're here for round 18 of Tier 2 action, here in Suzuka, of course. Next week, we go to the US, following that, Mexico, then Brazil for the penultimate round, and we round things out for the finale in Abu Dhabi on the 17th of December, and that will close out Season 3, and then we move into Season 4. More information on that will be coming very, very soon. But yes, we've been through quite a few rounds of racing here so far in Season 3, Unicorn. Of course, we had, for the second leg, Silverstone, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia as recently as last week. Now we have, of course, Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix. Kai Bacchini and Cotters over at Mercedes with Yasko and Scars for Ferrari. That's Gadwin and Liam for Red Bull with Matteo now at McLaren as driver one, if you will. He's got a new teammate, Mario, stepping in as Little Bear. I think it was just a sense of availability for him, taking him out of that McLaren seat. Mario now jumping into full-time position over at McLaren. Late in the season, yes, but of course it's nice that these drivers have a sense that they'll be racing each week. Ali Avci, or Ali, as I've been told to call him. Ali over there in the Renault with Undertaker F. We have, of course, Adrian and Wisp for AlphaTauri, and I'm never gonna get Ali's name right. I'm sorry for that, but I'm working on it. Darian Alfie and Extreme for Racing Point. We've got Maxim B and Cjoss for Alfa Romeo with Crampy and Henners, the new dynamic duo over at Haas since Henners took things over. But still the same old squad there at Haas. I mean, Henners drove for Haas in Tier 1. You have Domi and Squid rounding out the 20 drivers for this one. And something that I am quite happy to say is that I do believe, for the first time in some time, we've got the entirety of the full-time Tier 2 roster here today. And with that, we'll take a look at the standings for the full-time roster. Little Bear still on the standings for the time being until Mario is able to get some points up there. But it is going to be Domi leading this championship for Williams, 299 points for him. Liam right behind him, the reigning Tier 2 champion, the Canadian, 194 points with Kai, 187 points in third, just 7 points shy of where Liam stands right now. And it's a fantastic championship so far. A lot of tight point spreads on this standings sheet. And of course, last week in Russia, multiple penalties resulting in penalty points. So good luck in Suzuka. Keep it clean. Williams leading the Constructors' Championship. All of that, Unicorn. I think we're all ready to go racing here around Suzuka.
Just about. Crampy's just rejoined the lobby, so once he's selected his car, just some sort of DC there. But yep, so once it's whacked onto private, and then we should be good to go. We'll get everyone readied up. And yeah, there we are. Everyone's back. Everyone's ready, and we're good to go here in Japan. And it's, like you said, such an iconic track, such an interesting and varied one. I think what makes it stand out is there's not really anywhere around this track that is sort of not an action hotspot. You know, a lot of the time we'll see an area and we'll identify it and we're like, this is where we're going to see a lot of overtakes. Around here, you could challenge or at least pressurize people for a fair amount in these corners. With maybe the exception of the S's, but even then, you can pressurize people into mistakes if you really are trying to go for the moves.
Yeah, we have little bit of doom and gloom here in the qualifying session. Something that these drivers aren't aware of is, well, maybe some of the drivers are definitely aware of it. The viewers, of course. Every single week, the drivers, the viewers, us here in the commentary booth, when it comes to these races, we get a roll of the dice on every single racing round. And when you have 5 races a week to go through, you do get to see quite a vary in conditions and race strategy and things like this. And we've had 2 races around here. We had Tuesday with that very unique light rain dynamic where we saw the intermediates come through very, very late in the race. Today was a dry encounter for the Australian division, or the Oceanic division, excuse me. And, of course, that saw, in itself, even though it was a dry encounter, a very dynamic race. We saw an opening safety car in that, and that's another thing that can come into play in these races as well. Of course, it is 18 minutes of qualification here for these races. We're just waiting for these drivers to get these setups dialed in. I'm sure we'll get a weather report soon enough, but 20 drivers on this grid, Unicorn. Why don't you take us through who's racing today?
Yeah, like we said earlier, absolutely no reserves on this grid. So looking at that timing tower, we've got Maxime B up in that top spot at the moment. And below him, we've got Ali and Undertaker in the 2 Renaults. Then Extreme in the Racing Point. Kai Bacchini in the Mercedes. Then C. Joss Maxime's teammate. Adrian in one of the Alpha Tauri. Scars on the Ferraris. Domi has just retired from the session, potentially wanting to start from the back. He's pretty close to securing the championship here this evening. Matteo in the McLaren. Cotters in the other Mercedes. Liam in the Red Bull. Wisp in the other Alpha Tauri. Gadwin, Liam's teammate. Hennes, Mario, Crampy, Squid, Darren Alfie, and Yasko round out tonight's grid. And already we're seeing a few drivers hop out on the medium compound tyres. No, Domi has a quaddy ban, Freeway's informing me. So it's not that he's trying to start from the back to just make this a spectacular win of the championship.
Qualification ban, as Freeware was able to help us out and point out in the chat. Appreciate that, Freeware. So I also have it on good information that he's going to be operating with a wheel instead of a pad this evening. Perhaps trying to make that transition now that he has a little bit of a breathing space in lead of this championship.
I was talking to him just a moment before in the VC, and I think if it rains, he's going to be on controller. If it's dry, I think he's going to try and go at it with the wheel. Similar to what I think we saw in the endurance race the other day.
Anders now is the first driver that is going to start a lap. Fortunately, he's being plagued by the consistent rev glitch, so I am going to have to apologize to him. We'll hop on board with his teammate for a lap around, however. They are the first 2 racers out. Crampy, usually trying to get that camera time regardless, but he will be the first driver we can have.
Hannah's had an issue. He's into the wall.
Oh no, Hanners is not going to be thrilled about that at all. Oh no, and that rev bug really not giving us the opportunity to stay on board with him too long, as it gives the ears a little bit of a shake. Now Crampy coming through the second. Degner here, just heading under the bridge. And it is quite dark here in this qualifying session. I have to say, I'm quite concerned that we may see some rain, but if anyone is able to give us a... Oh, Domi has, excuse me. Domi has said it is going to be clear in the chat. I'm seeing that now, so thank you very much for that. So these drivers are going to be, I imagine, expressing a sigh of relief given the dry conditions coming ahead. Suzuka, not a circuit where you want to have rain, as we saw in the European split on Tuesday.
I believe Extreme has come off in a similar place to where Hennes came off, although there appears to be an additional spectator camera. Yeah, he's not got any damage on the Racing Point. I don't know how I managed to do that, but yeah, Extreme had another issue. There's a Ferrari spinning at the hairpin as well. That's Yasko, I do believe.
Crampy, he set a 126.992 here as the first time in quali. Adrian, second quickest to 127.5. Now the times are starting to come through. It was Squid, third across, a 128.2. Now Sejoss has jumped into the front row ahead of Adrian, a 127.440 out of the Alfa Romeo. Undertaker, fifth quickest on the mediums, as well as Squid on the mediums. And Gadwin coming through into fourth. So it was a 128.4 for Undertaker, a 128 flat out of Gadwin, and Mario comes through into second position, a 127 dead. 0-0-0 coming out of the McLaren. In his first official lap as a full-time driver over at McLaren. I'm sure the squad will be happy about that. Scars, a 127.1 in third. All of these drivers coming across now. Liam into ninth.
Maxime B hops into third place, a 127.1 for him on his opening lap. A few drivers invalidated and hop back into the pits. Kai Bacchini, I noticed he did it. So not going super smoothly as Darren Alfie has crossed into P1, a 126.5 coming out of the racing point.
Big shout out to Becky B, Tier 1 driver for Mercedes. Thank you very much for the raid ahead of this Tier 2 campaign. We will be looking for you, of course, sir, in that Mercedes in Tier 1 action around this lovely iconic circuit. I hope everything went well with your stream. Welcome in, everyone from Becky's end of things. Matteo now in the McLaren is flying down into Spoon. His brother, his elder brother, competing for Renault today in F1 Esports. He'll be looking to try and carry through, bringing home some wins for the family after Nicholas took a win around, if I'm not mistaken, it was it Silverstone yesterday? Not entirely sure. I believe it was.
I couldn't tell you, to be perfectly honest. But Matteo, he's looking to cross the line, coming down in the McLaren. It's a 126.9 from him. Puts him just ahead of Crampy. A few drivers hopping back out on outlaps. Kai Bacchini Extreme. Ali as well, who have all aborted their first flying laps earlier on in the session for one reason or another. See if they can do a little better, as well as Hennes. He's hopped out of the pit lane as well.
Matteo 3/10 off of Darian in that fight for pole position right now. It would have been pole for Matteo had Darian not come through to set a much quicker time than Crampy. Well, 4/10 the improvement that Darian had over Crampy. Crampy's heading out of the pit lane now.
Yeah, this group of drivers coming down to start their second attempts at flying laps are being led by Ali. He's about to cross the DRS zone and he starts his next lap. He's on these mediums, so he's still hopeful, but you can see on the timing tower the pace of the mediums really hasn't stood up compared to the softs, as we always, are likely to see. But here it's just the top 10 dominated by softs. No one's cracked into them on the mediums.
Seems I was plagued by a little bit of a bug there with Ali and his Renault here. Thought for a moment it was showing me his camera settings, maybe.
Well, that's what I had earlier with Extreme. I went to go to the TV cameras and it put me in the chase cam, which was rather odd.
Very odd.
But nevertheless, Ali making his way down towards Spoon is... They want to beat Wisp here, I think, in terms of where we're going to likely end up on this timing tower, with the medium runners all being outside of that top 10. So an 11th place here would be the fastest of the mediums, as it were. He's the only person still on them as he comes through the chicane at the end. And the final corner. It's 13th for him, so it's not bad, but we might see him hop onto the tyres. What's Kai going to do? He's going to go fastest, Striff. It's a 126.5, just beating out Darren Alfie by 0.06 of a second there.
Kai will be happy with that, most definitely. Most definitely after a rather unfortunate Russian Grand Prix.
Yeah, that race ending prematurely for him. He'll want to rectify what happened there in this race. And being on pole is the best way to do that. I don't No, I don't think he's still in the championship fight anymore. With us being in the final 5 stages, this Squid has a slide through Spoon. He's managed to save it though. Impressive piece of driving there. Going out of the Williams, but it's going to harm his lap time fairly significantly.
Adrian to the line looking for an improvement. What's it going to be out of the Alpha Tauri? It's P4 coming out of Adrian. A near 6/10 improvement at 126.952 from him. Neatly done. Neatly done. Squid now to the line. It's an improvement of nearly half a second, or just over half a second.
Be interested to see what he can do on another set of softs without a mistake then, because like I said, he did have that big slide out of Spoon. Wisp as well as on a flyer. He was the fastest on the medium, so we'll see where he can put himself on the softs.
Idros just jumps into 4th position here. 126.8. Out of the Alfa Romeo, he jumps ahead of Matteo.
Yeah, and both McLarens right now coming to the end of their outlaps, so they'll be starting to set improvements sooner rather than later. I think Maxime B is about to cross the line as well. He's coming through the final corner. He's currently in 9th. What can he do? It's 5th place just behind his teammate. 3/10 improvement from him. Wisp now to the line. It's a 1 second improvement from him, and it's a 126.5.
Wow.
He becomes the 3rd driver in that time bracket and separates Kai and Darian.
Wisp is going to be thrilled about that lap. Thrilled. That is a major lap coming out of the Swede. And look at that, just within 0.04 of a second of Kai Baccini. Darian just behind him by, well, just under 0.02 of a second. It's it's locked in at the front.
Yeah, we'd love to see tight battles like this, and if they can carry that into the race, then that would produce some very exciting action, I would imagine. But we've got plenty of people still on flyers around here. A pair of McLarens. Matteo leading the charge there, just coming through Spoon. Ennis has invalidated his lap as well, so he's not going to be too happy with that, but
well, one thing we can see is the gap right now from 1st down to 13th is less than 9/10. Gadwin in the Red Bull flying. He's on the softs. Gonna be looking to improve on a 127.831 as we make our way through 130R, and he's up quite a significant amount as well. He's going to be looking to land himself quite far into this field. Went through this, of course, final chicane. What a lap. He improves by 7.5 tenths. It's a P10 for him, and as I say that, Gars 126.769. Into P5 is the Ferrari.
yeah, both the McLarens. Matteo's gone again, and Mario invalidated, so the pair of them not happy with how that's gone for them. Like I said, Matteo's gone around again, Mario's pulled it into the pits. Darian Alfie right now. He struggled through Sector 2, but he was up a significant amount of time through Sector 1. He's still on for an improvement, though, of a very significant amount. We could see him jump to the very low 126s here. It's a 126.2 coming out of the racing point, and, well, Kai Baccini and Wisp were close before. Now they've got to find even more time if they want to start on that front row.
Henner is in the Haas. Has been on a little bit of a hot streak lately in some of his league appearances. I can say that for certain. He took a win yesterday in a league race. Not entirely sure. I think it might have been PPR Singapore. So, coming out of Singapore here into Suzuka, definitely a different style of circuit. We'll have to see what he can do. He's just coming on his outlap right now. No time set out of the Haas driver just yet, but it is the calm before the storm, if you will, as Mikau always coins it. And now Yasko on the exit out of the second. Degner, he was flying in that Ferrari. A 127.1 is the time that he was looking to improve on. You saw he had a little bit of a shake. He's invalidated the lap, and that car got quite unsettled utilizing the exit curbing there. Squid now has begun a flyer in the Williams, and just ahead of him, Kai Baccini on an outlap.
Yeah, no. Arnie's flying as well, so we'll have to see what he can do. This is his first outing on softs, I believe, so he's just come past the Ferrari of Yasko, who seems to have only had that big kick, so he's come out of his flyer. But Arnie coming through 130 yard down into the chicane. What can he do with this lap now that he's on the soft compound tyres?
Going through that Casio triangle. Tenth
Six
improvement.
tenths.
Next across the line. Undertaker has just begun a lap, and there's a yellow flag popping up. I'm not entirely sure what has happened. There's a car quite slow coming out of the pit lane there. That is the Mercedes of Cotters allowing flyers through.
Yeah, there's also an Alpha Tauri in the wall, and I think that's Wisp. Or he's in the grass at least. I don't know if there's any damage on that guy. He was completely stationary. There's no damage on the car, but he was definitely in the gravel trap, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know if he was just getting out of the way or if he made a mistake on his outlap, but either way, probably not where he wants to be.
Squid not going to be improving. He jumps into the pit lane. We're at a 1 minute 45 left here on the clock as far as our clock's concerned in this qualifying session. Of course, there is a little bit of desync. Not entirely sure if they've fixed that just yet, but it is Henner's now coming up the straight out of Spoon into that iconic 130R. Utilizing that inside curbing just a tad. Not utilizing any of the exit curb now. Down into the chicane we go through this iconic Casio triangle. Now to the line. They're going to be out of the Haas. It's P7. A 126.811. Or 810 according to the timing tower. And he's going to be not too far behind his teammate in Crampy. Crampy in fourth. Just, well, half a tenth ahead. Things quite tight in this, well, in this grid. Right now, the gap from first down to 14th, 1.2 seconds. Love to see it.
I think that gap might get a little bit bigger in a moment. Kai Bacchini is on a very, very quick lap time right here, and as it stands, I'm pretty sure he's set to take Darian Alfie for pole here. He just needs to nail this final sector as he comes through the chicane into the final corner. What can he do here? It's a 126.211. It's not quite enough. It's so close. 4 thousandths of a tenth. 4 thousandths of a tenth. 4 thousandths of a second.
He wanted that. He wanted that. And here's something. Darian's on an outlap looking to potentially improve maybe. We'll have to see if he chooses to do that or if he chooses just to come back in. I think he may just be safe as there's an issue for Mateo. Coming out of Dunlop, he's spun it round and that car was horizontal across circuit. He's going once again. Not entirely sure if he was flying on that lap, and there's a lot of dust getting kicked up 3 out of the second. Degner Squid up ahead on board with the McLaren, and that looks to be a Renault just up ahead in Undertaker. Take a look at the front end to see if there's any damage. Does not appear to be any damage on that Renault, and he's just quite off to the side here, letting everybody through.
Well, Wisp is not looking like he's going to be improving on his time. He's 1/10 down coming out of sector 2 into the final sector, so it looks like Wisp will be starting no higher than third place. Crampy, I don't know if he's just got a toe off of Henner's or not, but he's going to come to the line, and if he has got a toe, is that going to be enough? It's a 3/10 improvement, and it does put him ahead of Wisp, so Crampy now in P3. Darian just caught the line. It's at 126.206, so that's his fastest time of the session. Scars with a 3/10 improvement, hops into 4th.
Max and B 5th here. Wisp now. Not going to be improving, it would seem. He's not utilizing any of that battery at the moment. He ran a 126.578.
Yeah, I think Sejos is... No, he's coming into the pits, so I think everyone in the top 10 right now is done. Whether anyone else can pop
Gadwin
in.
and Adrian are looking to get in it. What's Gadwin going to do to the line now? Does he get into the top 10? Yes, he does. It's a 126.882. Who can undo this now? Adrian in the sister, the Alpha Tauri to the line. Can he undo Gadwin? No, he cannot. He does not improve Cotters coming into the Casio Triangle now. In the Mercedes, can he knock Gadwin out of that top 10? To the line. No, he cannot. Extreme will not be improving. And I do believe this is our qualification session completed, Unicorn.
Yeah, and the top was particularly tight, but when it came down to the wire, Darren Alfie and Cavaccini, they just stepped up to the plate and just crushed already very competitive lap times, down another 3/10. And I think, like you said, Kai's going to be a bit disappointed that he's lost out to pole by 4,000th, but
that is
very
a
impressive from
very
him.
tight margin. Extraordinarily tight margin, but yes, of course. Darian Alfie taking pole position here in the Racing Point, the Croatian, a 1:26.206 for the pole time here for round 18 of Tier 2. It is Kai Baccini on the front row next to him. Just 4 milliseconds, just 4,000ths of a second behind him in this qualification session, and it's Crampy 2/10 off the front runners right now. In third position, rounding out the top three for this one. Scars in fourth, the South African with Maxim in fifth. We'll go down through the rest of this grid with you on the formation lap. That was a nice quick way in, I suppose. Everybody loading in, waiting on Crampy, Joss Whips, Yasko, Mateo now. Make sure everybody gets your setups loaded. Setups loaded. You don't load your setups. Also, the top 10 must start on the top 10 tires that they began in qualifying. We do have the results from qualifying. Any driver that fails to do this is going to be subject to stewards, and that's not going to be something you want. Trust me. And I see mediums on the grid right now. So anybody in the top 10, let your friends know. Anybody that qualified in the top 10 on softs, you better be on them when we get back to racing, because if you're not, you're probably not going to get a result in this race, to be very honest.
Yeah, and it's down to the drivers to be honest with themselves, and I'm sure they will be, because they know they qualified on the soft, they know why they're there, and I think a lot of them probably want to start on those soft compound tyres. So they've already been thrown the advantage that, like you said, unfortunately a tyre degradation gets thrown away. But those soft tyres are going to be nice and quick at the start of this race.
Off on the formation lap now. A little bit of a different formation lap than what we saw a few minutes ago, where a car just launches through ahead of the grid. So let's go through this grid now. We've had a couple of minutes to kind of digest and think, okay, what's going on? Top 10 drivers are on the softs. So no problems there. That's great to see. Who are the top 10 drivers in this one, however? It is Darian Alfie, Kai Baccini, we have Crampy, Scars, Maxim B, as well as Mario, Wisp, Joss, Henners, as well as Gadwin rounding out your top 10. Mateo there in 11th position, Adrian 12th. Yasko, 13th here. Undertaker in 14th with Cotters in 15th. He's starting on the softs. Ali in 16th. Liam in 17th position. Squid in 18th. Of course, Extreme in 19th. And Domi in 20th.
Yeah, not a single hard compound tyre in sight around here. It's just a sea of red and yellow, almost a perfect split. Mateo and Cotters, the outliers there on the softs outside the top 10, but I think we're just going to see two reverse strategies here. Obviously no rain forecast for this race, so a few drivers on Tuesday opted to start outside the top 10 on the hard compound tyres to go to that, try and get to that rain at the end of the race. It's not the case here. They don't need to try and do that. So I imagine we're going to see just sort of two grids of drivers racing against each other. You're going to have those on the mediums a little bit slower at the start. They'll be faster at the end, and vice versa for the front, or top 11, as it were.
Well, one thing I can say for those that have maybe engineers, friends, family, or of course if you happen to just be listening into this broadcast yourselves and you're participating in this race, take it easy into turn one. Take it easy on this opening lap, because it's a long race. It's 27 laps, and you don't want it to go out the window like we saw happen to, as unfortunate as it was, Panda in the Oceanic split earlier today, coming out through Dunlop. And Dunlop can be quite tricky with heavy fuel, especially on the opening lap of a race. But of course, all the drivers now approaching this grid here, Unicorn. Let's have a fun round 18 around Suzuka. Of course, I will let you give us the honor. Take us away here racing in Suzuka.
Well, there we go. We've loaded in. The lights are starting their sequence. The driver's not quite seeing it as we're seeing it, though. They're revving their engines now. So we're getting ready. And here we are. We are away for the Japanese Grand Prix. It looks like Crampy's had a much better start than Scars. And Kai Bacchini's going to be up the inside of Darian down into turn one. Darian a little bit wide, and that is Kai Bacchini up into first place for the time being. Crampy's getting past Darian as well, so a poor start for the Racing Point. We've got a bit of an issue further back. Wisp's gone around the outside of Mario, and it looks like Squid in the Williams has had a trouble. Further down as Hennes is on the back of Mario, trying to get past just as Wisp did through this opening section, but so far so good for most of these drivers. Hennes looking around the outside of the McLaren into the first Degner. A little bit of contact between the two. I don't think there's any damage on the Haas as a result, but he's still in P8 as we go up towards the hairpin here. It's Kai Bacchini leading this race ahead of Crampy. Darian having a terrible start here. Oh, it's a spin. No, it's not a spin. Adrian's managed to save it, but Matteo and Adrian, a little bit of contact. Matteo's dropped a fair bit off the start of this race. Here's Cotters having a look.
This is very tight battling right now in the rear of this grid. Matteo looked to poke his beak in, coming through the hairpin. Now there's a big slide out from the McLaren there. A little bit of contact. Who's this now? That's Domi. Through Spoon, he had a little bit of a tap, and he's lost the car. Has he been able to get it back going? Yes, he has, but things still so tight in this midfield. Gadwin wheel-to-wheel through 130R. That's going to be Sejoss on his inside. We're going to jump to a little bit further up now, as Darian is not going to be too thrilled losing off from lead of this race. He has dropped 2 positions into third. He's lost out not only to Kai, who started just, well, right on the front row with him, who qualified 4 milliseconds behind him, but he's lost out to Crampy as well. And now we have so much action happening through this grid. These drivers, that little bit of wait time that we had getting things resorted, really had these drivers just eager, ready to go. We saw so much overtaking, a lot of tight racing, especially through this first sector. These S's. Now it's the 2 Renaults quite close. Ali in 16th.
Oh,
and
Crampy.
Crampy has been dispatched by Darian. Well, he's got Darian ahead of him now, and that was a split-second motion coming out through Dunlop, I do believe.
There's some serious lag hitting the Haas. On my screen, he just veered off the track and then teleported straight back onto it. Darian just easing through, and well, this Crampy down into third. It does seem he's having some sort of connection issue, and now Darian is going to want to hunt down Kai. There's already 2.7 seconds between them. Mario and Wisp as well. They're getting pretty close to the McLaren. He's going to try and get past the other tower. It's Scars wide through Spoon. It's Maxime B up his inside. Still side by side as they exit the corner, and it looks like Scars just had the better exit, and he's got more ERS to play with as well. So the Ferrari hanging on to P4 at the moment as they go down to 130R.
It's very tight in this grid right now. Look at those intervals all the way up and down, especially in the top 10. Mario sticking with Wisp. Wisp sticking with Maxim. Maxim wants Scars. Crampy has fallen off of Darian by 1.2 here. Darian 2.8 away from Kai now. Kai out of that DRS range as we're in lap 3. A lot of these drivers within DRS range in the midfield, but Kai is going to be quite happy that he has clean air and the ability to pull away already out of the DRS of Darian Alfie, or that second position runner. Stream has just taken a 5-second penalty. He's come into the pit lane and he's had an issue. He's going to be looking to get off these mediums now. The big question is, what tires does he go on to? Does he fit hards? Does he fit softs? He fits another set of mediums. So he's going to be coming in for another set of mediums and a potential wing change here. Very interesting out of him. Maxim now within 0.2 of Scars, and this is where you can see a lot of overtaking opportunities coming out of that hairpin. If you have a good exit coming out of that second Degner, you can really shoot up the inside of someone into that hairpin. I think that may have been what happened with Matteo when he dropped position. But he's in 13th right now. He started this race in 11th, and he's on these softs at the moment still. Very tight in this fight. It's quite the train coming through Suzuka right now, and there's only one DRS zone that these drivers can utilize, and that's the pit straight down into turn 1.
Yeah, and if this was another circuit, look how close this entire grid is. Apart from the front 2, as Maxime has a look at Scars on the inside, that was a very ambitious move. Never really going to work out for him, and Scars might have Crampy on the exit of the final corner. And like you said, the DRS zone, the one and only. It is Scars going up the inside of Crampy. And they're still side by side. Crampy now down into 4th place. He had a good start, hasn't really been able to hold it. And Maxime just looking on to try and follow in Scars' footsteps, trying to get past the Haas driver as well. A little bit of a slide out of his car. Manages to regain control, but Crampy under a lot of pressure here. And you can see how quickly Scars has just run away after getting past Crampy. And Maxime is really going to want to...
Oh, and Henders has had a major issue coming out of Dunlop. You can see his car there on the outside, on the exit, just on our way into this first Degner. And that is a big crash out of the Haas, and he is not going to be thrilled about that. He has been on fire recently. But this is not going to be a VSC or a safety car. And Scars is going to just hold on to third right now. It looked like Crampy might have had a look, but it's now Maxime hunting him down. And who else is here? It's Wisp around the outside of Spoon. Does he get this move done? Yes, maybe. He takes a penalty. Was it worth it? That's 3 seconds for the Swede, and he's hunting down Maxime. Maxime trying to squeeze him off a little bit here. Both drivers on the softs. And Mario is looking at this still in the McLaren, hunting down in 7th. Seedross, the teammate of Maxime. There's a little bit of contact. Maxime into the rear of Crampy as Wisp, I think, gave him a little love tap. Doesn't appear to be any damage on Wisp's car, however. Maxime missing a front left end plate, as you said, George. And here we have it. Crampy now under threat from the Canadian regardless. Down the inside. Is this move going to happen? There's a big snap out. There's Wisp around the outside, and there goes an end plate for the AlphaTauri as well. What was he thinking?
Well, Wisp there, going into the final corner, or into the chicane, he went to look up the inside but didn't pull out enough and just ended up tapping the rear of Maxime. And there's a problem with Cottas and Undertaker. What's happened to the pair of these? The Mercedes and the Renault. The Renault's got damage. Cottas being let past, he's got damage as well, missing an end plate. Wisp and Gadwin now exchanging. There's 4 cars going into the first Degner as a packet, and these cars are so bunched up, and Wisp with damage as well as the penalty. Crampy and Mario exchanging as they go side by side into the hairpin. Mario around the outside. That is a very nice move coming out of the McLaren. This grid now starting to space out as these drivers get into
speaking of
tight
McLarens,
battles.
speaking of McLarens, around the outside for Mario, around the outside for Matteo as well. The big question is, can Matteo make it stick? He's got a missing front left end plate. Wisp has a missing front right end plate. You can see right now they're still so tight, and they have, of course, Liam. Now it's 3 wide, coming up the straight into 130R. Wisp has the lead now, 2 wide between Liam and Matteo. How's this going to go? We have an aerial view coming through 130R. That's the Renault as well as Ali. Looking at all of this action. He has the front row seat. A big lunge coming out of the Renault. It's a lockup. He goes into Wisp. He makes it ahead of Matteo, but Matteo's got big plans for him and says, I'm going to take 12th back, thank you very much. And Liam is still in all of this action. The Canadian now with the DRS, the slipstream on the rear of the McLaren. Coming down into turn 1. Is it going to be the move done? No, not just yet. Domi now on the wheel. He's looking. He's looking. Is he going to get Ali? Is Liam going to be able to catch up with Matteo? Ali now, a little bit of contact, a little bit of wheel banging between these two. And this is just pure intensity coming through Sector 1 right now, Unicorn.
Yeah, Liam's lucky to still be in this fight. I've been on board with Domi, who's just been watching and waiting, and he's now dispatched Ali as well as Wisp, who hopped into the pit lane. Liam, I don't know who caught him, but someone tapped him and was having a massive slide into the chicane. He's managed to keep it pointing in the right direction, though, and as a result, he's still climbing through this grid now. But, yeah, he's super lucky to keep it going. Crampy's still not free from pressure as well. Now, he's got Sejos looking to try and find a way past, but the grid now spacing out a little bit. There's still pockets of drivers everywhere, and Darian Alfie and Kai Vicini are just running away. Here goes Sejos, a nice exit out of Spoon, really closing the gap to Crampy. If he doesn't make the move through 130R into the chicane, he definitely will with DRS, but he's having to back out through 130R. He's not going to be close enough for the chicane, but DRS going to play a role. Crampy doesn't have it on Mario.
Yeah, Gadwin's really barking up the rear of Adrian here as well. I think he might have an even better run than the Alfa Romeo. There it goes. Gadwin, the Finn, moving ahead into 7th position ahead of the sister car, the AlphaTauri. Seedross now dispatching Crampy into turn 1 after all is said and done. For 5th position, and it's Liam now in the other Red Bull looking for position as Matteo is ahead of him with damage on the softs.
Yeah, on board with Crampy. I think he still might be suffering from a little bit of lag. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he's just having some sort of PC problem, but it doesn't look like it's helping him this evening. He's lost a fair few places from when this race began.
I'm just catching my breath still. I had to do a lot of yelling there, kind of half yelling, you know? That was some seriously intense action.
It's the kind of yelling that you start thinking it's going to be a short battle, and then it's just constant, and your voice box starts screaming.
You set the pitch and the tone, and you're like, damn, now I need to carry on with this level of enthusiasm. And it's lasted for 3 minutes now. Yasko wheel to wheel with Adrian coming up into 130R now. Into 8th position, neatly done out of the Ferrari.
Yeah, nice clean move, and now this puts him right on the tail of Gadwin. There's still a lot of drivers close to one another on this grid. And we've got Yasko and Adrian here on these medium compound tyres, and this is really going to start to help them in the coming few laps, and the softs start to fall off and the soft runners start to pit as Matteo and Liam. Liam around the outside into turn 1. He's also on these mediums, and he's got that move very nicely done.
Yeah, that reminds me of something Ben the Bear did earlier today. And he had a very nice operation, as I call them, around the first turn, around the outside. And here we have Matteo struggling coming out of Dunlop right now. Could be that the softs are losing a little bit of traction. There's a little bit of contact from Domi in the rear of Matteo. These drivers, they practice with each other quite often, so I imagine they could be in comms right now saying, hey, take it easy. Ooh, a big dive there. There goes Yasko. Oh, a lockup as well. He's got 7th position. He's hunting down Gadwin, this Ferrari on a charge now, and I think it's time to get off of these softs already, Unicorn. Look at the speed coming out of these mediums right now.
Well, you've got to remember that these softs are fresh on, and after 7 laps, you'd think they'd still be good, but these drivers have been in constant trains, and we've seen a lot of people running wide, so these tyres have really taken a beating as Yasko got the inside of 130R. Super ambitious move. He's managed to get it done. Yeah, Gadwin's gone a little wide, but I don't know if Crampy just got tapped by Adrian there, but he's had a slide. Manages to hold on to P8 though for the time being. Can Gadwin come back with DRS down the start-finish straight? He hasn't got the exit out of the final corner, but I think he's going to need as well.
Yeah, I don't know what Gadwin's head is going to be thinking about that one there. Gadwin, I think, went wide to avoid a collision. I think it was maybe a day late, dollar short for Yasko there. Stewards may look if Gadwin chooses to report it, but of course that is Yasko into 6th position. Adrian now holding with Crampy. Adrian is on these medium compound tires, and we've been watching Yasko pull away on the yellow rim compound. Now it's Adrian, as well as Liam, Domi. The train is here, and Crampy right now is one of these kinks in the chain for these medium runners to get to these soft guys ahead, and Yasko's going to be happy he cleared these two. Here goes Adrian up the inside. Crampy sees him, gives him the space. How's the traction on exit? Is it going to be a move done for Adrian? Crampy's still a little bit of life in these softs, holding off Adrian right now, and this is going to be very hard for Adrian. He looks to the inside, and he can't be doing these things. He's going to take a penalty. Crampy's just taking a 3-second time penalty. Liam is going to be rubbing his hands together, waiting for an opportunity, and he's no stranger to Suzuka. He took his championship win around this circuit in Season 2, beating out Jay. So,
well, it's Domi as well, going up the inside of the pair of them. And he's now got the outside compared to Liam, and he's done it.
What an operation out of Domi there. He's taken not only Adrian, but as you said, Liam as well. Matteo now making moves. He's still on these softs, and he wants more positions at the moment. Liam defending to the inside from Matteo. Domi has already caught things up with Crampy quite well, and he's going to be looking to dispatch him quite soon. Matteo now under threat from Adrian, and we have serious volley for position in these final points regions of this grid, but there's a ton of penalties right now. You take a look, there's 3 seconds all up and down this chain. Crampy now losing out to Domi out of Dunlop. And the thing with these 3-second time penalties is you can't serve these ones in the pit stop. You can't. The 5-second ones you can. So Extreme will be happy about that. But for these 3-second time penalties, ooh, you don't want to collect too many of those because you're going to be holding on to him all race long. Liam now up the inside through the hairpin. And that is him into 9th position.
Yeah, and Domi is now where he needs to be. He's obviously Yasko, the lead runner on these mediums, up in 6th place. He's in a very dangerous place for the soft runners in this race. As Kai Bacchini, speaking of soft runners, becomes the first, and Darian's had a problem. Darian's hit the wall.
Yeah,
I don't know if I think he might have missed the pit entrance.
Joss has just been overtaken by Yasko up the inside again, coming out of the Ferrari through 130R. He's really liking that spot. This time it was a little bit cleaner than what we saw previous, but as you said, a lot of drivers coming into the pit lane here. And a little bit of drama as well.
Yeah, Darian, this is a big problem for him. He's lost an end plate, and this is just going to slow his probably his in-lap down a lot. And Kai is now behind Gadwin and Yasko, neither of which are particularly slow, so he probably won't be held up too much, although he is absolutely flying through this S's section right now.
It's not going to be long before he gets to Gadwin here at all.
No, and Yasko isn't far away, but Darian's in-lap is going to be so much slower than Kai's was. He's 3.5 seconds down on his previous best because of that damage he's got from, I'm going to assume, missing the pit lane.
Kai has already caught things up with Gadwin. Little bit of a tap. Kai needs to show patience in these situations. He has a fantastic strategy. All of the drivers ahead of him need to pit, and he doesn't really need to worry about Darian, considering that damage.
Yeah, he's not going to worry about him. He just needs to make sure that he gets through here and takes full advantage of the situation. And I think he's going to do just that. The ERS difference is just absolutely insane. The exit out of Spoon has just been perfect for Kai. And as easy as you like, he's not going to get many moves easier than that. Adrian's been overtaken by Matteo in a similar fashion as well. And now Kai needs to get rid of Yasko as well. Darian's probably going to stop for a front wing. He is. So that's pretty much Darian out of the win of this race, provided Kai doesn't make any mistakes here.
Kai is going to be thrilled as long as he can get through Yasko now unimpeded.
Well, Domi's into 3rd as well, and he's ahead of the only other person who has even a chance of winning the title, I believe, Liam.
Well, things are starting to space themselves out in this grid now as well as these stops start to come through and these drivers get temperature into these tires. Gadwin has come in for a set of hard compound tires here, which could be quite a unique call coming out of him. Should we see another safety car, he'll have an opportunity to come in, get onto some quick rubber as well. And there's been a good chunk of drivers. Well, you have Maxim and Wisp, they're on hards now. They've been on hards for a few laps. You've got Gadwin and C-Joss, they like these hards as well. Yellow flag through Sector 1. Who's had an issue here? It would appear Cotters is into the wall in that Mercedes just coming through the S's. Turn 3.
Yeah, there's an end plate missing on that car, and I don't think it's the first time that he's been missing one either. So, not going to be best pleased with how this race has gone for him, but it's now down in 19th place. He's got a penalty to boot as well.
Well, Kai will be happy to say that he got through Yasko clean, but has he? Yasko now is going to look for another charge. DRS, does he have a move on Kai? No. He also showing some patience here and not making a move, and I don't believe the move should have been made considering there is such a tire differential. It's just going to be a battle to cost Kai here, but Yasko, of course, he's in a Ferrari and he doesn't like being in second, I imagine.
No, but he is on this different strategy, and Kai's not really the fight here for Yasko. You've got to remember where Yasko started this Grand Prix, and he's up 11 places, Domi up 17, and Liam's up 13. So these drivers right now in this top 5, Adrian's up 7 as well, but he's got a penalty. These guys, Kai's not really their fight. Kai's on a completely different strategy and started in second place in this race, whereas these guys started outside the top 10 on these medium tyres. So they've all got to stop, presumably for some softs towards the tail end of this Grand Prix.
Gadwin, Squid now. Seajoss has cleared Squid, Gadwin has not. And this is going to be crucial for him to stay with Seajoss. And, of course, get through this Williams, just anchoring himself in this Red Bull's way.
Kai now on his charge. He's just set the fastest lap of 129.5 on those mediums. So he's really not hanging around.
No, and that's the only 129 on the board here at the moment. The only one close to a 129 is, well, never mind. Darian Alfie, a 129.298. He is flying now, and he has a lot of cars ahead that he's going to want to get through. Speaking of cars ahead, Gadwin now with DRS. Looking to the inside as we make our way into turn one. It's a wheel-to-wheel exchange between the two of these drivers, and Maxim B has the front row seat and the popcorn, as well as these 7-lap-old hards that he wants to get into some points just the same. Squid now getting into a little bit of gravel here. Perhaps he's starting to feel the wear of these 13-lap-old mediums, and it looks like Maxim going to go for a move around the outside, but Squid has a bit of a snap of oversteer here. And this is going to really compromise Maxim now. Wisp to the inside as we make our way through the first Degner. It's wheel-to-wheel. Wisp around the outside, getting Maxim done and dusted, literally, as he ran around the outside into 12th. He's looking at, of course, Squid. Is he going to get another move around the outside? Maxim with the front row seat to this. A little bit of contact. Maxim wants that position back. Squid holding on for dear life in 11th with these fast movers behind, and Wisp and Maxim on the same tires at the moment, hunting down the 13-lap-old medium runner in the Williams.
And it's interesting, these hard 7-lap-old are holding up to the pace here. The mediums, if they're losing the pace now, as Maxime looks to the outside of Wisp, but he hasn't quite got the run. Domi's getting past Yasko into turn one. But Maxime around the outside at 130, are almost losing the rear of this car. But like I was saying before, the drama kicked in. If these mediums are starting to die out now, like across the likes of Kai towards the end of this race, Wisp gets past Squid. Cotter's just retired his car in the pit lane. And Maxime's going to get Squid as well down into turn one. Is he going to be able to hold the move, though? He is. He's absolutely flown past into the first corner. So Squid is going to want to hold out for another few laps, though, to get onto the softs, because he started this race on these mediums. It's going to be a tough end to the race for Squid. But it's worth noting that Kai's tyres are going to be a lap older than Squid's are now at the end of this race. So the softer runners that we're going to see at the end of this race, the likes of Domi, Yasko, Liam, and Adrian, could pose an interesting dynamic towards the end of this race. Matteo right on the tail of Crampy, looking up the inside down towards the hairpin around the outside now for the McLaren, and Crampy's car. Not sure what happened there for him, but Matteo up into P14 regardless.
Mario, his teammate as well, has made it ahead of Adrian now into 5th, and it would appear every time Mario makes an overtake or Matteo makes an overtake, there's some kind of action on both ends of that McLaren garage. So neatly done from them.
Here another pit window really has just sort of separated this grid out just a little bit. Crampy looks like he might be going. He's dived up the inside of Matteo into the chicane. It's gone completely deep.
Well, Ali's just punted him almost back into the McLaren.
Well, Crampy now using that bump draft to get back past the McLaren. It didn't look like the Haas was too unsettled from that bump on board with him, as
Crampy's just been struggling with connection issues. You know, now that we think about it, Unicorn, I think you and I can safely say he's been having these issues all season. All season.
Yeah, you can see it's really hurt him here this evening, because he had such an excellent start to the race. He got straight past Darian Alfie and was up in P2, and then, like you said, the connection issues that he's had a little bit before as well start coming to haunt him, and he's dropped all the way back down to 14th on this grid, and it's so unfortunate to see what was looking to be a very strong drive ruined by, you know, factors out of his control, and it's disappointing, but he's still holding on. He's keeping his car in this race. I don't think he's caused anyone major issues with the lag. It's just detrimental to himself.
Ton of pit stops coming through now. We're going to see where these drivers land. You can see Scars and Darian are going to jump up a massive amount of places here. Third and fourth now for these two. Domi in fifth. He's come in as the lead one, I guess, in that pit stop. He's going to come out with, well, who's this now? There goes Sejoss coming through. Oh! I wanted to jump to Domi as Sejoss went through, but I switched to Gadwin instead. But yes, Sejoss is going to get Domi into fifth position. Of course, Domi on fresh softs here to the end, perhaps, going to be showing a ton of pace. Of course, to everybody who's tuning in, welcome in. Domi now around the outside through into the first Degner. That was a neat move from him there on those softs. But yes, welcome in. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're happy to have everybody joining us here for round 18 of Tier 2 action. My name is Strifium. Joining me from the UK is Unicorn. And if you are here for the first time, do us a favor, help us out. Hit that follow button because we have a ton of wheel-to-wheel action. As you can see, Crampy now dispatching Squid just ahead as we come into the hairpin. Yasko and Gadwin are having an exchange. Yasko, 7th position now on the fresh soft compound rubber.
Well, there's another problem Crampy had that I completely forgot about that Fraser and Freeware have just brought up in the chat, that Crampy, he struggled to load into the session and didn't load a setup in time. So he's actually running on the default setup now as he gets past Mateo.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. When, of course, you have to... You lose that lobby, you got to restart things. Things get thrown out of whack. You know, you every now and then you have these drivers, they'll pick the wrong tire, or they won't load a setup, and it's very, very unfortunate when these things happen. Of course, they have actually quite a large amount of time to get those setups dialed in, but usually there's always one or two racers that know exactly what they want to do. Mateo now on the inside, coming into turn 1 in the McLaren. Is he going to get this move done? No. Crampy holding on to 13th right now for dear life, and as you said, on that default setup, versing off against Mateo right now.
Well, there's...
Oh, and there's Mateo into the rear of Crampy, and end plate flying off as a result, and a decent amount of damage on that front right. Crampy now dispatching Maxim. As it appears, Maxim has had an issue as well. VSC has been deployed, and you can see Maxim in 13th now has lost out to Crampy. Mateo with damage. Ooh. VSC has been deployed, and I'm not entirely sure if it's as a result of the damage with Mateo or if something happened with Maxim to cause this.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, before that VSC got called out, that Darian Alfie's picked up a 3-second time penalty. He's been hard charging, he's been catching Scars, and always runs into the back of the Ferrari under the VSC. Not anticipating that he needs to slow down quite so much for the chicane, but you know, it's VSC hurting his chances, the penalty not helping him too much either, but Mario in P2 right now has a 3 seconds as well, so the podium is still on for Darian here. He's managed to recover quite well. Obviously the pit stops for the likes of Domi have helped him, but obviously Domi going to be hunting down on the fresh softs despite the wheel, if he is still on it. It'll be very interesting for him.
Yasko's having one heck of a drive today, I have to say. Both Ferraris doing quite well. Crampy has now retired in the pit lane, and you hate to see it, but he has just not had the best day today. It started off with technical issues plaguing us getting into the lobby. It saw us, of course, restart due to an issue on formation lap, at the very least an issue that I had seen. But it's been a very intense 19 laps, I have to say. Far more intense than the Oceanic Grid earlier today, given the fact that we did have a full safety car in that race, kind of shaking up the strategy. We've had a little bit more overtaking in this campaign, I will say, but you love to see all of these races. You know, this is the third race of the week here now around Suzuka. We've got the fourth one coming right up not too long from now. That's, of course, at 11:15 p.m. GMT for our friends in the UK. 5:15 p.m. CST for those in North America, or those that use Central Standard. But we have a lot of racing happening here on Thursdays. Of course, we had the Oceanic race at 11:30 p.m. or 11:30 a.m. I should say, 11:30 a.m. for all of those in the UK.
Extreme's got a puncture on 15-lap-old mediums. His front left has just completely gone. It's also worth noting Crampy retired his car, so both has out of this race now. But Extreme here, he had an issue for the S's, but I didn't realise it was as a result of this, as Domi's got past Darian and Alfie. I think Darian's had a problem as well.
Yeah, I definitely think he has.
Yeah, he's losing
a
end
ton.
plate.
Yeah, he's got not just an end plate, a massive amount of that front wing, and Sejoss is going to get him as well as Yasko. And you hate to see it, as it was Darian who started this race on pole position.
Yeah, neither racing point. I imagine the garage right now absolutely furious with what's going on at the moment. But one person who's not going to be disappointed with how this race has gone, Domi now up into P4 from the rear of this grid. And it looks like he's going to be sealing the deal tonight on his championship.
Darian's going to be so frustrated with this, I can only imagine. After having started this race on the front spot, being in this position is not going to feel good. Liam within that second of Wisp, but you look at the tires on this grid right now. I have no idea where things are going to land on this grid now. I really don't.
Well, Domi's catching quickly to the guys ahead. He's catching, I want to say about a second a lap. I don't know if I'm overstating that, and obviously it's going to slow down as his tyres get older and older, but there's only 6 laps to go. And he's catching pretty rapidly, and Mario's got that 3-second time penalty. So Domi realistically only about 6 seconds away from P2.
Yeah, well, he's come in, he's going to get some softs. He's going to get that wing fixed up now. He's waiting. He was waiting for his pit crew as well. He was waiting for his pit crew. That is just terrible.
Well, that's because Extreme came in for that puncture and a ring change as well. So he's been double stacked despite the fact they're in completely different situations. Super unfortunate, and just gets bad for worse.
Domi's on the hinges of getting a championship with this. If he's able to get into his... There is a clinching opportunity here for Domi. For those watching along, there is a clinching opportunity for the driver's title presently. Domi, I do believe if he gets himself into third and finishes this race barring any penalties, he may just win the championship for Tier 2.
Apparently, he needs to outscore... Kai needs to outscore Domi by 11, and Liam needs to outscore Domi by 2. And Liam currently in P9, not looking like that's going to happen anytime soon. He is on the rear of Wisp though, and he's on this faster compound tyres, so he's still got room for improvement. So it's not... The deal isn't done yet, but Domi right now looking strong to take this championship here.
Liam wanting to get as far up this grid, but Wisp is presenting him with an issue right now in 8th. He just can't get by him.
Yeah, and Liam needs to take these tyres to the end as well. Wisp's tyres are very old.
Oh no!
Huge snap and taking Wisp with him. Gadwin's out of this race, and that's a full course safety car.
Ladies and gentlemen, open your eyes, because things just got thrown into a serious turn of events. There's a safety car here on lap 22, and this entire grid is going to come together as a result. Lap 22, safety car. What is Kai going to do? He's coming in. The leader of this race, Kai Bacchini, coming into the pit lane with, well, 6 laps to go, 5 laps to go here.
This is gonna... I reckon this might hurt Yasko here, who might get double stacked as well as the 2 Alpha Tauris, or at least Wisp, because I imagine everyone's going to want to come in here, because Domi is going to want fresh softs to keep up. No, he's not. He's going to stay out. That puts him in P2, but is he going to be able to hold off the fresh softs of Mario and Yasko behind it? Yasko's stayed out as well. He doesn't want the double stack.
This is Strifium bold prediction of the evening. Domi isn't going to finish this race on a podium. Here's the thing. Here's the equation, right? Not the equation. Well, technically the equation. Here's the situation, if you will. Kai on fresh softs. You've got Domi and P2 right now on these 5-lap-old softs. By the time things come down to the wire in this race, if he's fighting with Kai, those tires are going to be shredded. Giving Mario and anybody within striking distance, now you have to keep in mind Mario has a penalty, but Scars here, should he get ahead of Liam, this could be looking very good for him. And Domi, and the reason I bring up Domi is because he's going to have worn tires. He's on the wheel, apparently. Apparently he's on the wheel, which is not his preferred device input. I don't know. This track is so... Things happen on this circuit. Things happen. Things happen on this circuit, but I don't think Domi's going to land on this podium. If he does, hats off to him, because he has made up... Let's take a minute to talk about it. Domi served a qualification ban. He's in second position. He's done pretty well everything but win this race. 18 positions for him in the Williams. He just keeps coming back and back, and if he's on the wheel, it's a very good feat for him.
I think I'm gonna go against you, Striff. It looks like there's now counterpoints coming up in the chat as well, but I think he will finish on the podium. I don't think he'll beat Kai. I think Kai is just gonna run away, but that means Domi's going to have clear air ahead of him. He's got Yasko behind him on equally as old tyres. Mario has a 3-second time penalty. Liam's on the same old tyres. I think Scars is a threat, but that would still leave Domi open to a P3 here. So I think Domi might just... It depends how much of a fight Yasko can put up. Yasko, I think, is the key here. If Yasko can come at Domi, bring that Ferrari past him, down into turn 1... That's where Domi has a problem, because that would open him up big time to Scars. And Yasko, let's not forget, Yasko and Scars are teammates. So Yasko wants Ferrari to do as well as possible here, and he knows that Scars is on those fresh tyres. Mario's got the 3-second time penalty. So there is an opportunity for Ferrari here to score a lot of points.
Yeah.
But I think that Domi, if he stays ahead of Yasko on this first lap of the restart, he'll finish on the podium.
Something that you and I have had the pleasure of talking about for now 18 rounds of racing for this division at the very least. We've done quite a few races. Take a look at that penalty situation. You have all of these drivers with those pesky 3-second time penalties we always talk about. When you get these late safety cars, they throw such a wrench into the equation if you happen to be one of those unfortunate racers carrying a 3-second time penalty, because you can't serve them in the pit lane. And this is really going to throw things... You know, Yasko and Scars, neither of them in these Ferraris at the moment. There's still a little bit of racing to go here, okay? But neither of them with those penalties, and me as self-admittedly a Ferrari fan, I love to see it. I know there's a few guys in the chat that'll love to see that as well. Of course, thank you so much to everybody who's been tuning in. If you've been enjoying this race, let us know in the chat. You'll love to see these very, very intense scenarios come to life here in Suzuka, an iconic circuit that just provides nothing but highlights all the time. Just ask Alex Pitto.
Well, the penalty situation, breezing past that Alex Pitto dig there, is a little bit more interesting than those current penalties would actually imply, because you've also got Kai Bacchini, Domi, and Liam on 2 warnings apiece, which means if any one of these, the safety car's been called in very late here as well, if any one of those drivers gets another warning, they're going to have 3 seconds added to their time penalty as well. So this opening lap is going to be very important in Kai Bacchini getting ready to restart the race, and he has gone. Has he caught Domi out though? Obviously he's got the traction. Domi needs to keep Yasko behind him. Looks like he's going to do just that. Yasko actually might have gone a little bit wide there and might open himself up to Mario on these fresh tyres. It's gone! It's great news for Scars, though. He's on these fresh tyres, and he's only got, apart from Kai Bacchini, people on 7-lap old soft. So their pace towards the end of this race is going to be nowhere near what the Ferrari's tyres are capable of putting out as Ali goes past Squid.
Squid now. Oh, yeah, he's got to catch this Renault quick. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of an audio issue.
On the inside of 130R.
Yikes.
Driver number 1 dispatched, but Liam later on the brakes into the chicane. Can he hold him off here? You'd imagine that Scars is going to have the traction. There's a yellow flag popping up. It's one of the... It's Darren Alfie.
Can you hear me now, George?
I can now, yes.
Fantastic. All right, we were having audio issues there. Hate to see it, but man, oh man, what a safety car restart this has been. Domi 2.6, 2.7 seconds away from Kai Bacchini. Jasko hunting him down. The Ferraris right now 3-4, similar to what we saw last weekend in Istanbul. Darren Alfie has now retired the car in the pit lane. And I could not believe that issue with Mario. Unfortunately, my mic had an issue, but I caught that. And I did say something, but unfortunately
I heard you say Mario, and after that...
Unicorn could hear me, I think. It was the stream that wasn't able to hear me. But, man, Matteo now on the inside of the hairpin. That's Maxim under threat. Is this going to be the move done? Oh, what an exchange. A little bit of contact there.
Now this top 5. Wisp getting past Sejos up the inside of Spoon.
This is really exposed Sejos. He's struggling on these tires, it would seem, considering Adrian now. Liam, Wisp. Oh man, Wisp is in a good position here, and you know it's funny. I have some predictions for who's going to win this race from some of these drivers, and it's just funny considering how things have played out here so far. Liam hunting down Wisp. On the outside is the Red Bull. Oh, does he get it back on the inside? No, Wisp shutting the door there.
And Jasko still trying to look at Domi, but Kai Bacchini's well and truly gone. He's even clear if he does pick up that 3-second time penalty we were talking about. Extreme's out in the pit lane.
Racing Point wants to pack up and go home. Very unfortunate to see the result for the Racing Point squad. Of course, the Tier 2 racers, Darian, Extreme. We'll be looking to fight again next week now. Adrian under threat. It's Matteo. In that McLaren, does he have a look to the inside coming into Spoon here? Is it going to be a lunge? Ooh, a little bit of contact there. Yellow flag in Sector 1 as a result of, I think that's Extreme's car, for whatever reason, exiting the pit lane. This race was absolutely broken wide open now. Matteo coming into 130R up the inside. Adrian coming off a little wide there, and this has exposed him to Maxim B. Kai Bacchini takes the checkered flag. Ali Avci with a dive into the chicane on the final lap of this race. The stewards are going to be looking at this. Adrian now crossing the line. What was that? What drama we have had here in Suzuka. Kai Bacchini takes the win, 4.7 seconds ahead of Domi. I eat my words as Domi takes the podium. It's a 3-4 for the Scuderia. Jasko Scars finishing in 4th there. Liam in 5th, Sejos in 6th, Wisp in 7th, Undertaker in 8th, 9th for Matteo. Adrian in 10th, and Maxim finishing 11th here out of the points. And I've just seen one of the biggest crashes and dives in Misfits Racing League history. Unicorn, I don't know how that came across on your end, but whoa!
Well, I was making sure that Domi, who's just picked up driver of the day, didn't make any last mistakes, so I didn't see it, so I'm going to have to be rewatching that one, I imagine, at some point. The chat going absolutely mad, but Kai, a very well-earned victory, and I am under the impression that we do have a Tier 2 champion in the form of Mr. Domi there, up in P2 from last on the grid.
Well, before we get into the festivities, if that is in fact the case, if someone can confirm in the chat for me, one of the moderators, if that is the case, but it is. One thing for certain, Kai Bacchini on the top step here from second to first, a 799, the fastest lap in this one. But that is a fantastic win out of the Mercedes for Kai Bacchini. Domi from 20th to second is now the current Tier 2 Misfits Racing League champion, 20th to second. What a way to do it. He was on the wheel as well, if I'm not mistaken. Congratulations to him. Very unfortunate for, of course, Liam and Kai, who were in the running for that. Liam, the reigning Tier 2 champion, now handing over the reins to Domi. Yasko in third there, Scars fourth, Liam fifth, Seajoss in sixth, Wisp in seventh, Undertaker in eighth, Mateo in ninth, Adrian rounding out the points collection for this one. That's Maxim in 11th, Squid 12th, Ali in 13th with Mario 14th in this one with Darian 15th, Extreme in 16th. And I have to say, it was a bad day for the Croatian squad there. You can see all the flags there, 14, 15, 16. Very unfortunate, of course, for those guys. Gadwin, after some kind of issue with the car, unfortunately causing that safety car, I do believe, with, was it Wisp, I think? Very, very unique race here. Thank you very much, Kai, for the raid. Wow, I am definitely out of breath, and we've got a whole nother race to come in just, well, 30 minutes time. 30 minutes time, we are going to be back racing here on the channel for Tier 1. That was Tier 2. So if that was anything to go by, I don't know what to expect coming in ahead into Tier 1 here, Unicorn.
Yeah, well, the opening of that race was just absolutely incredible. That the train of cars was just so tight and still until people just started going for moves, and you have people going 3 wide. That starts breaking up, allowing people ahead to just sort of leave. And the medium to the soft strategy really worked out. Obviously, Domi from last to second, but you also had Liam as well as, I can't remember which one of the Ferraris was on that strategy. It wasn't Scars, so it would have been Yasko, I believe. But yeah, absolutely incredible medium to soft. And Ferrari squad as well. Obviously, Kai and Domi, stellar drives. But both of the Ferraris, also third and fourth, really nice drive out of the pair of those two. But I think Freeway did confirm Domi, Tier 2 champion, like you said, and just very well deserved. I think Kai proving tonight that it could have been him as well had he had a little bit of better luck in some of the races that he had, like your Russia last week where he had that unfortunate spin. But it is, been a hard-fought battle between the two of them, as well as Liam, who's currently, he was P2 coming into this race. I don't know where he sits now, but a great race. And, despite the fact that the Drivers' Champion has been confirmed, we've still got, I believe, 4 more to go here. And I'm looking forward to each and every one of them.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of battles happening in the standings still yet. Of course, there's still the battle for the second position here, and after Kai taking the win, this is going to be a very spicy battle. One thing I can say is, well, we have a ton of racing. We have Club Division tomorrow. We've got Tier 1 coming up in just a short time, and with that, we are going to leave you guys for a short period. We're going to hit you with the outro. We're going to rate a fantastic member of the community. The racing community, and we hope you guys will join us in the raid. We always love to hit members of the community, the racing community, streamers, friends, things like this after these races. So join us in on the raid. We're going to see you guys in just a short little bit for another round of Suzuka action. It is the Tier 1 division. See you then.